In that moment, the ice arena in Milan erupted with thunderous applause and roaring cheers. All eyes were locked on the two skaters embracing on the ice. On February 16, 2026, at the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, Japanese pair skaters Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, beloved by fans as Riku Ryu, finally forced open the door to history. But this gold medal story was not only about scores, rankings, or medals. There was another drama hidden inside that moment, a human moment so powerful that it touched people around the world even more deeply than the result itself. It happened immediately after their victory was confirmed. What Riku Miura did in those few seconds made fans across the world say, "This is a magical moment, and this is why we love the Japanese spirit." So what exactly happened? To be honest, what moved me most about this story were two different kinds of emotion. The first was the incredible competitive drama, a comeback from what looked like complete despair. The second was the quiet human beauty shown in just a few seconds after winning. Today, I want to take you through both of those moments, because together, they created one of the most unforgettable scenes in Olympic figure skating history. But before we reach the glory, we have to go back to the night before, when Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara were standing on the edge of heartbreak. They entered the short program as one of the strongest favorites for Olympic gold. Many fans believed their victory was almost certain, but what waited for them on the ice was something nobody expected. Their performance did not begin badly. The opening triple twist was strong, and the jumps that followed looked smooth. But then came the lift, one of their greatest weapons, the move they trusted more than almost anything else. And that is where the nightmare happened. Kihara lost balance while supporting Miura. They avoided a complete collapse, but the mistake was obvious. It was shocking because it was not something people expected from Riku Ryu. This was the kind of element they usually performed with calm confidence. Their score was 73.11 points, more than 9 points lower than their personal best from the team event. They were left in 5th place, and in modern pairs skating, that gap felt almost impossible to overcome. When Kihara returned to the hotel, he reportedly cried for a long time, and you can understand why. Failing on a difficult element is painful, but failing on something you believe in completely is a different kind of heartbreak. When the thing you trust most suddenly breaks, it shakes not only your score, but your confidence. But then the story began to change. The person who saved Kihara that night was none other than his partner, Riku Miura. Usually Kihara is the one who leads emotionally. He is often the steady presence beside her. But that night, the roles reversed. While he was crying, Miura refused to look down. She kept smiling. She kept telling him that they would come back tomorrow. Later, she said, "Ryuichi is always the one who pulls me forward, but this time, he kept crying, so I became the older sister." That one sentence says everything. She is younger than him, but in that moment, she became the one holding the team together. Pairs skating is not only about lifting someone physically, it is about supporting each other when the heart breaks. And the fact that they could switch roles like that showed the true strength of their partnership. With that belief in their hearts, they stepped into the free skate the next day. Their music was Gladiator, a powerful soundtrack about fighting through pain, pressure, and impossible odds. For a pair trying to climb from 5th place to Olympic gold, no music could have matched the moment better. From the opening seconds, they looked different. The triple twist rose high and landed beautifully. The atmosphere in the arena changed instantly. Then came the combination jumps, triple toe loop, double axel, performed with sharp timing and deep focus. And then came the lift, the same kind of element that had haunted them the day before. This time, Kihara lifted Miura into the air with strength and complete control. The rotation was steady, her position was beautiful. The fear from the short program disappeared in front of everyone. From there, every movement seemed to flow with the music. The throw jumps, the death spiral, the lifts, the emotion, everything came together like one story being written on the ice. At the finish, Miura threw her fist into the air. Kihara dropped to his knees, overwhelmed by emotion. The arena rose to its feet. The applause would not stop. Their free skate score was 158.13, the highest free skate score in history for pairs. Their total was 231.2. From 5th place to gold medal, Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara had completed one of the greatest comebacks the sport had ever seen. But the most powerful moment was still about to happen. After the final team finished, the results appeared on the screen. Miura and Kihara were Olympic champions. Most athletes would explode with celebration in that instant. They would jump, scream, hug, and let every emotion pour out at once. But Riku Miura did something different. Before fully celebrating herself, she turned toward Kihara. She looked at the partner who had cried the night before, the partner who had carried her through years of training, injuries, loneliness, and pressure. The partner who had just helped lift them both to the top of the Olympic world. And in that moment, her first reaction was not only joy, it was gratitude. That is why the world reacted so strongly, because people did not just see two champions winning gold. They saw two people who had survived heartbreak together, trusted each other when everything almost fell apart, and reached the top without forgetting the person standing beside them. That is what made the moment unforgettable. Riku Ryu did not simply win a medal. They showed the world what partnership really means. That would have been the perfectly normal reaction. After all, a lifelong dream had finally come true. They had climbed out of despair, overcome the heartbreak of the previous day, and reached the very top of the Olympic podium. Most athletes would have exploded with emotion the instant the gold medal became official. But what happened next is the moment that captured the hearts of people around the world. Riku Miura did not immediately celebrate. When the results appeared and their Olympic victory was confirmed, she didn't jump wildly or lose herself in the moment. Instead, before fully embracing her own happiness, she turned her attention toward the athletes who had just suffered heartbreak, the very competitors who had led after the short program, the skaters whose dreams had slipped away only moments earlier. Rather than focusing entirely on her own triumph, she acknowledged their pain. For a brief moment, Miura held back her emotions. She quietly absorbed the significance of the achievement and exchanged a few modest words with Ryuichi Kihara. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. That scene quickly spread across social media platforms and skating communities around the world. And the emotional impact only grew during the medal ceremony. The Georgian pair who had been overtaken for gold and the German pair who earned bronze stood proudly on the podium with genuine smiles. Instead of showing disappointment, they turned toward Riku Ryu and applauded the new Olympic champions. It was a beautiful sight. The winners honored their rivals. The rivals celebrated the winners. There was no bitterness, no resentment, only respect. Everyone standing on that podium understood the sacrifices, the pressure, and the years of work that had brought them there. To be honest, when I learned about this moment, it reminded me that the true beauty of sports is often revealed after the competition ends. Winning is impressive, but how athletes behave after they win reveals who they really are. A champion who respects those who lost, and competitors who can genuinely celebrate someone else's success. That kind of scene cannot be created by one person's character alone. It requires dignity from everyone involved. What did you think when you saw that podium? Did it feel different from most championship celebrations? As clips of the ceremony spread online, praise poured in from fans around the world. People weren't talking only about the comeback victory anymore. They were talking about sportsmanship. One fan wrote, "The moment she won, she didn't immediately celebrate. She was thinking about the athletes beside her. In a moment with that much pressure, how can someone still show such consideration for others?" Another wrote, "This is what sportsmanship looks like." And perhaps the comment that resonated with the most people was simple but powerful. This is why people respect and admire the Japanese spirit. They are strong, but they are also kind. Whether those comments came from social media, skating forums, or international fans, they reflected the same feeling. People were moved not only by what Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara accomplished, but by how they carried themselves while accomplishing it. The medal ceremony continued to generate emotional reactions. Many fans pointed out how warmly the German pair welcomed Riku Ryu despite losing the lead they held after the short program. One comment captured the mood perfectly. "What is this? A medal ceremony where everyone looks genuinely happy." Another fan wrote, "The Georgian team and the German team seem like such wonderful people. It's rare to see winners and defeated athletes celebrating one another with this much warmth." And that is exactly why the moment became unforgettable. Being a champion is about more than scoring points. It is about character. It is about grace. It is about showing respect even when emotions are running at their highest. The few seconds of composure and kindness shown by Miura became something larger than the gold medal itself. They became a memory that people around the world would carry with them long after the competition ended. Personally, I find it fascinating that the most memorable part of an Olympic victory was not necessarily the winning score. It was the humanity. The world looked at Riku Ryu and saw athletes who were not only the best in the world technically, but people who understood empathy, respect, and humility. strong and kind. Those three words appeared again and again in reactions from fans, and perhaps no description fits them better. But to truly understand why Miura reacted that way in that moment, we have to go back to the night before, back to the hotel room, back to fifth place, back to the tears, because that difficult night explains everything. Think about what this Olympics meant to Ryuichi Kihara. At 33 years old, he knew opportunities like this do not come forever. This could very well have been his final Olympic Games. And on the biggest stage of his life, he had made a mistake during the lift, the very element that was supposed to be one of their greatest strengths. Imagine the thoughts running through his mind. What if I cost us the gold medal? What if I ruined her dream? What if all these years of work end because of my mistake? For someone as responsible as Kihara, those thoughts must have felt overwhelming. That is why the tears would not stop. Sometimes people cry because they are sad. But often the deepest tears come from guilt, from feeling responsible, from believing you have let someone down. That was the weight Kihara was carrying, and standing beside him through all of it was Riku Miura. Usually Kihara is the emotional anchor of the team. He is the experienced veteran, the calming presence, but on that night everything changed. The roles reversed. Later, Miura explained it perfectly. Ryuichi is always the one who pulls me forward. But this time he kept crying, so I became the older sister. What makes that statement so powerful is not the humor, it is the love behind it. She never allowed herself to sink into negativity. She never stopped believing. She kept repeating the same message. We'll come back tomorrow. And those words were not empty encouragement. They came from trust. Trust in their training, trust in their preparation, trust in the countless hours they had spent building this partnership together. And now we arrive at the most important question of all. Why was Miura able to think about her defeated rivals the moment she became Olympic champion? I believe the answer lies in what she experienced the night before. Just hours earlier, she had watched someone she cared about suffer. She had witnessed despair up close. She had seen what it looks like when a dream feels as though it is slipping away. Because she understood that pain, she could recognize it in others. When victory finally arrived, her heart naturally turned toward the athletes experiencing the same heartbreak she had feared only one day earlier. That is what made her reaction so special. Her kindness was not separate from her struggle. It was born from it. She understood loss, so she understood compassion. She understood disappointment, so she understood empathy. And that is why her actions felt so genuine. Pain can make people stronger, but sometimes pain can also make people kinder. In that brief Olympic moment, Riku Miura showed the world both. And perhaps that is why her reaction became every bit as memorable as the gold medal itself. To understand just how historic this gold medal was, you have to look beyond the score sheet. For decades, pair skating had been dominated by powerhouse nations, countries with deep traditions, larger programs, and generations of champions. Japan, despite its success in singles skating, was never considered a major force in pairs. In fact, there was a time when simply qualifying for the Olympics in pair skating was viewed as an achievement in itself. And yet, on this day, Japan stood at the very top of the Olympic podium. That fact alone makes this victory historic, but the story becomes even more remarkable when you consider how they got there. Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara entered the free skate sitting in fifth place. In figure skating, climbing from fifth to first is extraordinarily rare. Doing it after suffering a devastating mistake in your strongest element makes it even more unlikely. And yet they didn't simply recover, they delivered the performance of their lives. A world record free skate. Think about that for a moment. Most athletes struggle to rebuild their confidence after a major mistake. Some need weeks, others need months. Riku Ryu had less than 24 hours, less than 1 day separated heartbreak from history. Instead of allowing doubt to consume them, they transformed their pain into determination. Instead of skating cautiously, they skated fearlessly. Instead of protecting themselves from another mistake, they attacked every element with complete conviction. That is why this performance felt like more than a comeback. It felt like a miracle. And then there is Ryuichi Kihara himself. At 33 years old, he became the oldest Winter Olympic gold medalist in Japanese history. In a sport where athletes are often considered past their peak long before that age, Kihara stood on top of the world. His body had endured years of injuries. His career had faced countless obstacles. Many athletes would have quietly accepted that their best opportunity had already passed. Kihara refused. He kept going. And in doing so, he sent a powerful message to anyone who has ever felt that time was running out. Your dream does not expire simply because you get older. What makes this story so extraordinary is that it wasn't just one obstacle they overcame. It was many, a nation without a long tradition of Olympic pair skating success, a fifth-place position after the short program, a costly mistake in their strongest element, the emotional devastation of the previous night, years of injuries and setbacks, the pressure of the Olympic stage, the weight of expectations. Every one of those challenges would have been difficult on its own. Together, they seemed overwhelming. And yet somehow, they found a way through all of them. That is why this gold medal will never be remembered as just another championship. It is both a record and a story, a statistic and a memory, a victory that will be talked about for generations. And the reaction from their teammates and fellow athletes only confirmed how special the moment truly was. Among those watching was Kaori Sakamoto. As she watched Riku Ryu perform, tears filled her eyes. Those were not simply tears of admiration. They were tears of understanding. As a fellow elite athlete, she knew exactly how much pressure they had carried. She understood the disappointment of the previous day. She understood the sacrifices hidden behind every jump, every lift, and every practice session. She knew what it took to stand back up when the world expected you to fall. That is why the performance affected her so deeply. The beauty of sports is that athletes often recognize things the audience cannot see. They see the invisible work, the pain, the doubts, the sacrifices, and they appreciate them in a way few others can. Other members of Team Japan also expressed their emotions publicly. Their messages reflected the same feeling shared by fans around the world: respect, admiration, disbelief. The performance was so extraordinary that words almost seemed insufficient. Even the commentators struggled to contain their emotions. When that crucial lift was executed flawlessly, one commentator reportedly described it as the greatest performance in the universe. Whether taken literally or not, the phrase captured exactly how people felt. This was no ordinary skate. This was a moment that seemed to transcend the sport itself. And then came the medal ceremony. For many fans, it became one of the most heartwarming scenes of the entire Olympics. The German pair and the Georgian pair turned toward Riku Ryu and applauded them with genuine smiles. Instead of focusing on what they had lost, they celebrated what the Japanese pair had achieved. Fans immediately noticed. People commented on how refreshing it was to see athletes supporting one another so openly. Many called it one of the happiest podium ceremonies they had ever witnessed. There was no hostility, no bitterness, just mutual respect. Athletes from different countries, different cultures, and different journeys sharing one unforgettable moment together. Personally, the image that stays with me the most is Kaori Sakamoto's tears, not because she won anything herself, not because she was directly involved, but because she was moved by the success of her teammates. There is something beautiful about seeing someone celebrate another person's achievement as if it were their own. In many ways, that reflects the spirit of Team Japan itself. The same spirit that made people around the world fall in love with Riku Ryu, a spirit built on support, respect, and genuine happiness for others. And now, as we reach the end of this incredible story, it is worth reflecting on what Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara truly taught us. First, they showed us that even the deepest setbacks do not have to define the ending. One day they were in fifth place, devastated by a mistake. The next day they were Olympic champions. They proved that circumstances can change when people refuse to give up. Second, they reminded us of the power of partnership. When Kihara broke down in tears, Miura became his strength. When one stumbled, the other stood firm. When one lost confidence, the other provided belief. That is what true partnership looks like. Not simply sharing success, sharing struggle. And finally, they demonstrated that strength and kindness can exist together. At the very moment they became Olympic champions, they chose empathy over self-celebration. They thought about others, they showed grace, they showed character. In doing so, they became champions not only in sport, but in the hearts of people around the world. Perhaps the words that best capture this story are the ones spoken on that difficult night. We'll come back tomorrow, and they did. They came back stronger. They came back together. They came back as Olympic champions. Years earlier, when Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara first met, they described the feeling as being struck by lightning. A connection that felt immediate, a partnership that felt special. Looking back now, it is hard to argue with that description, because every challenge they faced, every injury, every disappointment, every setback ultimately became part of a much larger story. A story that could only be completed by both of them. like two pieces of a puzzle that fit nowhere else, neither complete without the other. Together, they fulfilled their promise. Together, they returned. And together, they created a moment that will live forever in Olympic history, because true greatness is not measured only by medals. It is measured by how you respond when everything goes wrong. It is measured by how you treat people when everything goes right. And it is measured by your ability to rise again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. That is the legacy of Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, not just Olympic champions, but a reminder of what courage, partnership, and humanity look like at their very best. Thank you so much for watching. What did you think of Riku Miura's reaction after winning Olympic gold? Did her sportsmanship make the victory even more meaningful? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next inspiring sports story. And as always, thank you for being here. We'll see you in the next video.